Captain Dae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching the stars through the main screen. The ship had been traveling for 3 months now, deep into space that no human had ever seen before. It was their job to find new worlds, new resources, and maybe even new life. The crew of 42 people worked together like a family, each person knowing their role perfectly. The Soul's Pride was not a fancy ship. It looked plain and simple from the outside, built for work rather than beauty. The metal hull was gray and practical, covered with sensors and communication equipment. Inside, the corridors were narrow and the rooms were small. Everything was designed to save space and weight. This was how humans built their first ships to explore the galaxy. "Captain, we're getting some strange readings," said Sujin Park, the chief science officer. She was a woman in her 30s with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Sujin had been watching her instruments all morning, and something was making her nervous. Dae-ho walked over to her station. He was a man of medium height, with graying hair and calm eyes. He had been in space for 15 years and his crew trusted him completely. "What kind of readings?" he asked. "There's a large object about 2 million kilometers away. It's moving toward us and it's big, much bigger than our ship." Sujin's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Captain, I don't think it's natural. The shape is too regular, and it's made of metal." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. They might have found alien life, but alien life had definitely found them first. "Boram, try to contact them," Dae-ho said to the communications officer. Boram Lee was a young woman with a friendly face and a talent for languages. She had been hoping for this moment since joining the crew. "Yes, Captain." Boram began sending signals into space. She tried mathematics first, then simple pictures, then basic sounds that any intelligent species might understand. The messages said the same thing over and over. "We are peaceful. We come in friendship. We want to talk." On the other side of the bridge, Security Chief Taemin Cho checked his weapon systems quietly. Taemin was a tall, strong man who rarely smiled. He hoped they would never need the ship's small guns, but he wanted to be ready. The Soul's Pride carried only basic weapons for protection against space rocks and debris. Hours passed. The alien ship came closer and closer. When it was close enough, they could see it clearly on their screens. It was enormous, at least 10 times bigger than the Soul's Pride. The design was sharp and angular, covered with weapons that looked powerful enough to destroy planets. Strange symbols were carved into the metal hull and the whole ship glowed with a dark red light. "They're scanning us," Sujin announced. Her instruments showed energy beams sweeping over their ship from top to bottom. Very detailed scans. "They're looking at everything, our hull, our engines, our life support systems. They're even scanning the crew." Dae-ho felt his stomach tighten. Being scanned felt like being examined by a doctor, except the doctor might decide you were sick and needed to be destroyed. "How long will it take?" "They've been scanning for 20 minutes now. Much more detailed than anything we could do." Sujin looked worried. "Captain, their technology is far beyond ours. This scan is telling them everything about us." In the medical bay, Dr. Ji-won Kang was taking care of a crew member who had hurt his hand in the engine room. Ji-won was a small woman with gentle hands and a quick mind. She had studied biology and medicine, and she wondered what the aliens would think of human bodies. Would they see humans as weak, strong, dangerous, friendly? Down in the engine room, Hyun-woo Nam was watching his instruments carefully. The chief engineer was a quiet man who understood machines better than people. The alien scan was affecting some of his equipment, but not in a harmful way. It was like someone was taking very careful pictures of everything. "Still no response to our messages," Boram reported. She had been sending peaceful signals for hours now. "They're receiving our transmissions, but they're not answering." Yuna Song, the ship's medic, was helping Dr. Ji-won in the medical bay. Yuna was young and always ready to help others. She wondered if the aliens got sick like humans did, and if they had their own doctors and medics. The scan finally stopped. For a moment, everything was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Then Sujin's instruments began making noise. "They're sending something," she said. "Not words or pictures, It's like they're sending information about us to somewhere else. Daeho realized what was happening. The aliens had scanned the Soul's Pride and its crew, and now they were reporting what they had found. Somewhere in space, other aliens were learning about humans for the first time. The question was, what did they think of what they saw? The alien ship moved closer. It was now close enough that they could see small craft moving around its hull like insects around a nest. The Soul's Pride looked tiny next to the massive vessel. "Captain," Boram said quietly, "I'm getting a transmission. They're finally answering. Us." "Put it on the main screen." The screen filled with the image of an alien face. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. The skin was gray and rough like stone. The eyes were large and completely black. There was no nose, just two small holes, and the mouth was a thin line with sharp teeth visible when it opened. The alien spoke in a voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. Boram's computer translated the words into human language. "Small vessel," the alien said. "You will prepare to be boarded. Your species will be evaluated for usefulness. Do not resist, and your deaths will be quick." The transmission ended. The bridge was silent for a long moment. "Captain," Taemin said quietly. "They didn't scan us to say hello." Daeho looked at his crew. These aliens had examined them like specimens in a laboratory. They had decided that humans were probably weak and easy to control. They were about to learn that some species were much more dangerous than they appeared. "All crew to stations," Daeho announced over the ship's communication system. "We have visitors coming." The alien ship fired once. Not at the Soul's Pride, but at a large asteroid floating nearby. The rock, which had been there for millions of years, simply disappeared in a flash of green light. There was no explosion, no debris, just empty space, where the asteroid used to be. Captain Daeho watched the demonstration with a calm face, but his hands were tight on the armrests of his chair. The message was clear. Surrender or be destroyed. "They want us to be afraid," he said to his crew. "Show them we received their message, but don't show fear." Sujin checked her instruments. "Captain, they're preparing to dock with us. I can see small ships leaving their vessel." The alien boarding craft were sleek and fast, designed like weapons themselves. They moved toward the Soul's Pride with confident speed. There were 3 of them, each carrying what looked like soldiers. "How many?" Taemin asked. The security chief was checking his small team's equipment. "The Soul's Pride only had 6 security officers and some basic weapons. Sensors show about 20 aliens total," Sujin replied. "They're larger than humans, and they're wearing armor." Daeho made a decision that would change everything. "All crew, this is the captain. We will not resist the boarding. I repeat, do not fight them. We need to understand what they want and how they think. Stay calm and follow their orders." Some of the crew looked surprised, but they trusted their captain. Taemin didn't like the order, but he nodded. "You heard the captain. Weapons down. Let them come." The first alien craft attached to the Soul's Pride with a loud clang. The airlock cycled and the aliens came aboard. They were tall, about 7 feet each, with the same gray skin as their leader. Their bodies were strong and muscular, covered in black armor that looked both flexible and tough. Each one carried a weapon that glowed with the same green energy that had destroyed the asteroid. The alien leading the group spoke through a translator device. "I am Sub-Commander Klextar of the Vexthani Empire. You will gather all crew members in your central area. You will not speak unless asked questions." The humans obeyed. Captain Daeho led his crew to the main cargo bay, the largest open space on the ship. The aliens followed them, weapons ready, but they seemed relaxed. They had scanned the humans and found them harmless. Dr. Jiwon walked quietly with the others, but her scientist's mind was working. She watched how the aliens moved, how they breathed, how they looked around the ship. They were confident, almost careless. They showed no fear of humans at all. "You," Sub-Commander Klextar pointed at Captain Daeho. "You are the leader." "Yes, I am, Captain Kim. You will come with me. The others will remain here." The sub-commander gestured to his soldiers. "Watch them. If any move without permission, kill them. The aliens separated Daeho from his crew. This was their first mistake, though they didn't know it yet. Human crews worked best when they were together, but they also became very dangerous when their leader was threatened. Klextar took Daeho to the bridge, where more aliens were examining the ship's equipment. "Your technology is primitive," the sub-commander said, "but your ship travels between stars. This is adequate. Your species may be useful as workers." "What do you want with us?" Daeho asked. "The Vexthani Empire requires workers for mining and construction. Your species appears suitable. You are small, but you seem intelligent enough to follow orders." Back in the cargo bay, the alien guards were relaxed. They had scanned these humans and found nothing dangerous. The creatures were small, soft, with no natural weapons. Their technology was basic. They had surrendered without fighting. What threat could they possibly be? Hyunwoo, the chief engineer, was standing near the back of the group. One of the alien guards noticed him looking at their equipment. "You," the guard said through his translator, pointing at Hyunwoo. "What is your function on this vessel?" "I maintain the engines and power systems," Hyunwoo replied quietly. The guard moved closer. "You will explain your power systems to us. We need to understand your technology." Hyunwoo hesitated. His engines were not very advanced compared to alien technology, but they were still military secrets. I need permission from my captain." This was his mistake. The alien guard saw the hesitation as disobedience. "You will answer now," the guard said, raising his weapon. When Hyunwoo still hesitated, the guard struck him across the face with the back of his armored hand. Hyunwoo fell to the ground, blood running from his nose. The cargo bay became very quiet. Dr. Jiwon had been watching the aliens carefully, studying them like specimens. She saw how they moved, how they breathed, how their eyes tracked movement. She noticed that they had no defensive reflexes around humans. They turned their backs on the crew. They relaxed their grip on their weapons. They showed no awareness of being surrounded. But when Hyunwoo was struck, Jiwon saw something else. She saw the faces of her crewmates change. She saw Taemin's jaw tighten. She saw Boram's hands slowly curl into fists. She saw Yuna take a small step forward. The aliens had just crossed a line they didn't even know existed. "Get up," the guard commanded Hyunwoo. "Answer the question or face more punishment." Hyunwoo struggled to his feet, wiping blood from his face. The other humans watched silently, but something had changed in their eyes. Sub-Commander Klextar returned to the cargo bay with Captain Daeho. "Your leader has agreed to cooperate," he announced to the crew. "You will be taken to our ship for processing. Those who are useful will work for the Empire. Those who are not." He didn't finish the sentence. Yuna, the young medic, stepped forward. "Can I help him?" she asked, pointing at Hyunwoo's bleeding face. The sub-commander looked at her with interest. "You are a medical worker?" "Yes, I'm trained to help injured people." "Useful," Klextar said. Then he turned to his guards. "This one shows initiative. She may be valuable as a medical slave." The word slave hung in the air like poison. Klextar grabbed Yuna's arm roughly, pulling her toward him to examine her more closely. "Yes, this one will serve well in our medical facilities." That was the alien's final mistake. Captain Daeho had been staying calm, thinking, planning. But when the sub-commander grabbed Yuna, something fundamental changed in his expression. His crew saw it. They had been waiting for a signal from their captain, and now they had it. Taemin saw it too. The security chief had been evaluating the aliens' positions, counting their weapons, measuring distances. He had been a soldier before becoming ship security, and soldiers never really stop being soldiers. Dr. Jiwon saw it as well. She had been studying alien biology and behavior for the last hour. She had observed their breathing patterns, their posture, their apparent physical limitations. As a scientist, she had been gathering data. Now she realized that data might be used for more than research. The aliens had scanned the Soul's Pride and its crew. They had measured human technology, human biology, human physical capabilities. They had concluded that humans were weak, primitive, and easily controlled. They had completely missed what humans actually were. Klextar was still holding Yuna's arm, explaining to his soldiers how medical slaves were processed, when he noticed the change in the cargo bay. The humans were no longer looking at the floor. They were looking at each other, and their eyes held something the aliens had never seen before. "What is wrong with them?" one guard asked, noticing the shift in human behavior. Sub-Commander Klextar was about to find out that their scans had missed the most important thing about humans. They were the product of a world that had tried to kill them for millions of years, and they had survived by refusing to give up, even when giving up was the smart thing to do. Captain Deho's voice was quiet when he spoke, but every human in the cargo bay heard him clearly. Enough. That single word changed everything. Sub-Commander Klextar was still holding Yuna's arm when the captain spoke. The alien looked confused. "What did you say?" "I said enough." Deho's voice was calm, but his eyes were hard as steel. "Let her go." Klextar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "You are not in a position to make demands, human. Your species will learn to—" He never finished the sentence. Taman moved first. The security chief had been a soldier for 10 years before joining the Soul's Pride, and soldiers were taught to act fast when the moment came. He grabbed a tool from the nearest maintenance kit and threw it at the alien guard closest to him. The heavy wrench hit the guard's helmet with a loud crack, and the alien stumbled backward. At the same moment, Hyunwoo dove for the fallen guard's weapon. His face was still bleeding from the earlier blow, but his hands were steady as he grabbed the alien gun. The weapon was heavier than human weapons, but it worked the same way. Point and shoot. Dr. Jiwon had been watching the aliens breathe for over an hour. She knew their rhythm, their pattern. When the fighting started, she grabbed a medical injector from her kit and filled it with concentrated stimulant, enough to kill a human. But she wasn't planning to use it on a human. She moved toward the nearest alien with the calm precision of a surgeon. The aliens had made a critical error. They had scanned human bodies and found them small and weak. They had scanned human technology and found it primitive. But they had never scanned human psychology. They didn't understand what it meant to be a species that had survived ice ages, predators, diseases, and wars against their own kind. Humans didn't fight fair. They fought to win. Boram, the communications officer, wasn't a fighter, but she was smart. While the aliens were focused on the violence in front of them, she slipped to the cargo bay's control panel. Her fingers flew over the controls, sealing the doors and changing the air mixture. She couldn't hurt the aliens this way, but she could confuse them. Yuna broke free from Klextar's grip and rolled away. The young medic wasn't trained for combat, but she had grown up with 4 older brothers who had taught her that sometimes you had to fight, even when you were scared. She grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and sprayed it directly at an alien's face. The Vexthani soldiers were strong and well-trained, but they were confused. Their scans had told them humans were harmless. Their experience with other species had taught them that primitive beings surrendered quickly when faced with superior force. But these humans weren't surrendering. They were attacking with tools, furniture, medical equipment, anything they could reach. More importantly, the humans were working together. When Taemin attacked one alien, Hyunwoo immediately covered him. When Dr. Jiwon moved toward another target, Yuna created a distraction. When Boram sealed the doors, the other humans automatically spread out to use the enclosed space to their advantage. Captain Deho grabbed Sub-Commander Klextar around the throat. The alien was bigger and stronger, but Deho had something. The alien didn't understand. Desperation backed by intelligence. He didn't try to overpower Klextar. Instead, he used the alien's own momentum to slam him into the wall, then grabbed for the alien's weapon. "Impossible," Klextar gasped. "Your species is primitive, weak. Our scans showed—" "Your scans were wrong," Deho said, pointing the alien weapon at its former owner. "You scanned our bodies and our technology. You didn't scan our history." The fighting lasted only minutes, but those minutes changed galactic history. When it was over, half the alien boarding party was down. The others were trapped in the cargo bay, surrounded by humans who had transformed from peaceful explorers into something much more dangerous. Seokjin, Dongwoo, secure their weapons, Taemin ordered. The 2 maintenance workers moved quickly to gather the alien guns. They had never used weapons like these before, but humans were very good at learning new tools quickly. Dr. Jiwan was examining an unconscious alien with scientific interest. "Their breathing is different from ours," she told the others. "Slower, deeper, and look at their skin. It's tough, but there are soft spots at the joints. They evolved on a world with less danger than Earth." "What do you mean?" Captain Deho asked. "They're used to being the strongest thing around. Look how they stand, how they move. They've never had to watch for predators. They don't have reflexes for close combat. They're used to winning with superior weapons, not superior tactics." Sujin's voice came through the communication system from the bridge. "Captain, the alien ship is moving closer. I think they're wondering why they're boarding. Party hasn't reported in." "On my way," Deho replied. He looked at his crew in the cargo bay. Several of them were injured, but none were dead. The aliens had underestimated human toughness as much as they had underestimated human determination. "Tae-min, keep these prisoners secure. Ji-won, learn everything you can about their biology. Bo-ram, can you access their communication equipment?" "Already working on it, Captain," Bo-ram replied. She was studying an alien communication device with the focused attention she usually reserved for new languages. On the bridge, Sujin was tracking the alien battlecruiser's movements. "They're getting ready to dock directly with us," she reported. "I think they're planning to send more soldiers." Deho looked at the massive enemy ship on the screen. The Soul's Pride was tiny compared to it, like a mouse facing an elephant. But mice were survivors too, and sometimes they could bite in places that really hurt. "Captain," Jiwan's voice came through the communication system. "I've been studying the alien prisoners. I think I understand why they made such basic mistakes in the fight. Tell me." "They're apex predators on their world, but not the way humans are. They dominated through size and strength, not intelligence and cooperation. They're used to other species submitting immediately when shown superior force. They've never fought a species that gets more dangerous when cornered." Deho nodded grimly. The aliens had expected humans to act like every other species they had. Conquered, see the bigger weapons, accept defeat, submit to slavery. They couldn't understand a species that looked at overwhelming odds and decided to fight anyway. "Captain," Tae-min reported from the cargo bay. "The prisoners are awake and very confused. They keep asking how primitive beings could defeat superior warriors." "What did you tell them?" "That they should have scanned for stubbornness instead of technology." Through the main screen, Deho watched more alien craft leaving the battlecruiser, bigger ones this time, carrying what looked like heavy equipment. The aliens were taking this seriously now, but they were still thinking like aliens. They were bringing more force to solve a problem that force had created. "All crew, this is the captain," Deho announced. "The aliens are sending reinforcements. They still think this is about having bigger weapons. They're about to learn that humans have been fighting things bigger and stronger than us for our entire history." He looked at his small crew on their small ship, facing an enemy that could destroy planets. The smart thing to do would be surrender. The logical thing would be to accept slavery and hope for better treatment. But humans had never been particularly smart or logical when their family was threatened. And after 3 months in space together, this crew had become family. "Sujin, how long until they reach us?" 20 minutes, Captain." "Good. That gives us time to prepare a proper welcome for our guests." The Soul's Pride had been scanned, analyzed, and dismissed as harmless. The aliens were about to discover that there was a difference between being harmless and being helpless. Humans had been proving that difference for millions of years. Commander Rathvek stared at the communication screen in disbelief. For 3 hours there had been no word from the boarding party. Sub-Commander Klextar should have reported the successful capture of the primitive vessel by now. "Send another transmission to the boarding team," he ordered. "No response, Commander," the communications officer reported. "Their personal communicators are active, but no one is answering." Rathvek's large black eyes narrowed. In 50 years of conquest, he had never encountered a species that could threaten Vexithani warriors. The humans were small, weak, and had primitive technology. What could possibly have gone wrong? "Perhaps their equipment was damaged during the boarding," suggested the tactical officer. "Impossible. Vexithani equipment is superior to anything these creatures could possess." Rathvex made a decision. Prepare assault shuttles. Send 50 warriors this time. If these humans are causing problems, we will solve them permanently. The Soul's Pride. Captain Deho was making preparations of his own. The ship wasn't designed for battle, but humans had a long history of making weapons out of whatever was available. Hyunwoo, can you overload the engine core? He asked the chief engineer. Yes, Captain, but it would destroy the ship. Hyunwoo's face was grim. Are you thinking of ramming them? Maybe. How much damage could we do? Sujin ran quick calculations on her computer. Captain, our ship is tiny compared to theirs. Even at full speed, we'd be like a bullet hitting a wall. But bullets can kill if they hit the right spot, Dr. Ji-won said from behind them. She had come to the bridge carrying alien weapons and equipment. I've been studying their technology. It's more advanced than ours, but it follows the same basic principles. Power sources, control systems, life support. They have the same vulnerabilities we do. What did you learn from the prisoners? Daeho asked. They're completely confused by what happened. They keep saying it's impossible for primitive species to defeat advanced warriors. I don't think they've ever lost a fight before. Ji-won set down an alien communication device. Boram has been working on this. She thinks she can tap into their ship's communication system. Boram looked up from the alien equipment with excitement. Captain, their communication system is actually simpler than ours in some ways. They never needed to worry about enemies intercepting their signals because they never fought equals. I can hear their internal communications. What are they saying? They're sending 50 more soldiers. Heavy weapons this time, and Captain... Boram's face became serious. They're talking about destroying our ship completely. The commander is angry about the delay. Daeho nodded grimly. The aliens were escalating because they couldn't understand what had happened. In their experience, primitive species either surrendered immediately or were destroyed quickly. They had no plan for dealing with humans. Taemin, status report, he called to the security chief. We have 15 alien weapons now, plus whatever we can make from ship's equipment. The prisoners are secure, but they're getting agitated. I think they can sense that their ship is preparing for battle. How many crew members can fight? All of them, Captain. Even the scientists and medics. They're scared, but they're angry, too. This was something the aliens couldn't have predicted from their scans. Human fear didn't make them weaker. It made them more dangerous. A frightened human was a human looking for any possible way to survive, no matter how desperate. Yuna, how are the wounded? Daeho asked. 3 crew members have injuries, but they insist on staying at their posts, the young medic replied. Captain, I've been talking to the alien prisoners. They're scared too, but they're scared of something different. What do you mean? They're not scared of dying. They're scared of what happens if word gets out that humans defeated them. They keep mentioning something called the Empire's reputation and maintaining order among subject species. Dr. Ji-won understood immediately. They rule through fear. Other species obey because they believe the Vexthani are unbeatable. If news spreads that humans fought back successfully, it could cause problems throughout their empire. Which means, Daeho said slowly, they can't let us live to tell anyone what happened. The alien assault shuttles were launching from the battlecruiser. These were larger than the first boarding craft, heavily armored and bristling with weapons. Through the main screen, the crew could see them approaching like metal predators. Captain, Sujin reported, I'm detecting massive power buildup in their main weapons. They're preparing to destroy us completely. Daeho made the most important decision in human history. All hands, this is the captain. The aliens are coming to destroy our ship and everyone on it. They can't allow news of human resistance to spread. We have 2 choices. Die quietly like good slaves, or make them remember that they picked a fight with the wrong species. He paused, looking at his crew. 42 humans on a small exploration ship facing an empire that controlled hundreds of worlds. I know what choice I'm making. Anyone who wants to surrender can use the escape pods. No shame in that. But anyone who stays is committing to showing these aliens exactly what happens when you threaten a human crew. No one moved toward the escape pods. Hyunwoo, begin engine overload procedures. Set it for maximum power output. Captain, that will destroy us too. Not if we're lucky. Sujin, plot a ramming course for their main weapons array. Taemin, prepare. Boarding pods. If we're going to die, we're taking some of them with us. Boarding pods? Taemin looked confused. Captain, we don't have boarding pods. We do now. Take the maintenance shuttles and remove all the safety systems. Load them with volunteers and alien weapons. Dr. Ji-won stepped forward. Captain, I volunteer for the boarding party. Ji-won, you're a doctor, not a soldier. I'm the only one who understands their biology. If we're going to attack their ship, you need someone who knows where to hurt them. One by one, other crew members volunteered. Bo-ram, who could hack their systems. Seok-jin and Dong-woo from maintenance, who understood how ships worked. Even Yuna, the young medic. You're all insane, said one of the alien prisoners who could understand human language. You cannot defeat a Vexthani battlecruiser with a primitive exploration vessel. Captain Daeho looked at the alien calmly. You're probably right, but here's what you don't understand about humans. We don't fight because we think we can win. We fight because the people we care about are in danger, and giving up isn't in our nature. The Soul's Pride began accelerating toward the massive alien battlecruiser. From the outside, it looked like suicide, a tiny ship charging at a giant one. But inside the Soul's Pride, the crew was working with the focused intensity that had carried humans through ice ages, plagues, and wars. They had been scanned, analyzed, and dismissed as harmless. The aliens were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology or their bodies. It was their absolute refusal to accept that some fights couldn't be won. All stations report ready, Sujin announced. Bo-ram, are you intercepting their communications? Yes, Captain. They're confused by our approach. The commander is ordering us to surrender, but he's also telling his crew to prepare for ramming speed impact. Good. Let them worry about what we're planning to do. Ji-won, what's the best target on their ship? Their life support systems are centralized, just like ours. If we can reach their main environmental controls, we can kill them without destroying their ship. Daeho finished. Excellent. Humanity's first contribution to galactic warfare. We don't destroy what we can capture. The distance between the ships was closing rapidly. On both vessels, crews prepared for battle, but only the humans understood what they were really fighting for, the right to exist in a galaxy that had already decided they were too dangerous to live. The Soul's Pride struck the Vexthani battlecruiser at maximum speed, but not where the aliens expected. At the last moment, Hyun-woo had diverted power from the engines to the maneuvering thrusters. Instead of hitting the heavily armored front of the alien ship, the Soul's Pride slammed into the side, where the weapons arrays connected to the main hull. The impact should have destroyed both ships, but humans had learned long ago that sometimes you had to break your own bones to escape a predator's jaws. The Soul's Pride crumpled like paper, but its momentum carried it deep into the alien ship's hull. Emergency systems activated on both vessels. Lights flickered, sirens wailed, and in the chaos, the human boarding parties launched. Dr. Ji-won led the first group through the breach in the alien hull. She carried a weapon she had never used before, but her hands were steady as she moved through corridors designed for beings much larger than humans. Behind her came Taemin, Bo-ram, and 6 other crew members. Remember, Ji-won whispered as they advanced. They're not used to fighting in close quarters. Use that against them. The Vexthani were indeed confused by the human attack. Their battle tactics assumed enemy ships would either surrender or be destroyed at long range. No species had ever deliberately rammed a Vexthani battlecruiser, and certainly no species had ever tried to board one. Intruders on Deck 7, an alien voice echoed through the ship's communication system. Small beings, moving through maintenance passages. Bo-ram smiled grimly as she worked to hack the alien computer systems. Humans were the perfect size for crawling through spaces that the tall Vexthani couldn't easily reach. Found their environmental controls, she reported. Ji-won, which of these systems should we target? The air processing plant. If we can introduce the right chemicals, Ji-won's scientific mind was working quickly. I can make a gas that won't kill them, but it will make them very sleepy. Meanwhile, Captain Daeho was leading the second boarding party toward the alien bridge. His group had taken a different route using the Soul's Pride's impact point as their entry. The alien ship was huge, but it was also damaged now, and its crew was panicking. "Sir," one of the Vex Thani officers reported to Commander Rathvex, "the humans are inside our ship. Our warriors cannot find them. They move through areas too small for us to follow." Rathvex stared at the battle screens in disbelief. How could primitive beings be inside his ship? How could they have survived the collision that destroyed their own vessel? How were they fighting his warriors in their own corridors? "Send all available troops to hunt them down," he ordered. "These creatures cannot be allowed to." His words were cut off as the lights on the bridge began to flicker. A sweet-smelling gas began flowing from the ventilation systems. Across the ship, Vex Thani warriors began falling asleep where they stood. "What is happening?" Rathvex demanded, but his voice was getting slower and deeper. From a maintenance tunnel above the bridge, Captain Deho dropped down behind the alien commander. In his hands was a weapon he had taken from the first boarding party. Alien technology turned against its makers. "What's happening?" Deho said calmly. "Is that you picked the wrong species to threaten." The battle for the ship lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Vex Thani battlecruiser was under human control, and most of its crew was sleeping peacefully in the cargo bays. Dr. G1's knockout gas had worked perfectly, and the few aliens, who had managed to avoid it, found themselves facing humans who fought with tools, tactics, and a desperation they couldn't understand. But the real battle was just beginning. "Captain," Boram reported from the alien communication center, "I'm intercepting messages from other Vex Thani ships. Word is spreading about what happened here." "What are they saying?" "They're confused. Some ships are reporting that it's impossible. Others are asking for clarification." "But Captain," Boram looked worried, "there's a massive fleet heading this way. At least 20 ships." Su Jin, who had survived the crash and was now studying alien star charts, looked up from her work. "Captain, according to their navigation systems, the Vex Thani Empire controls over 300 worlds. If they decide humanity is a threat, they'll try to destroy Earth before we can spread to other systems," Deho finished. "I know, but look at what we learned today." He gestured to the alien bridge around them. "Their technology is more advanced than ours, but it's not magic. Their ships are bigger, but they're not perfect. Most importantly, they're not used to fighting enemies who refuse to give up." Dr. Jiwan had been studying the alien prisoners and their technology. "Captain, I think I understand why they're so confused by us. Look at their history files." She activated a holographic display showing the Vex Thani conquest of other worlds. In every case, the pattern was the same. The aliens would arrive, demonstrate superior firepower, and the native species would surrender. Sometimes there would be brief resistance, but it always ended quickly, once the locals understood they were outgunned. "They've never fought a species like us," G1 explained. "Every other species they conquered was reasonable. They looked at the odds, calculated that resistance was futile, and surrendered to save lives. But humans aren't reasonable," Taimin said with a grim smile. "Exactly. We're the species that looked at mammoths and decided to hunt them with sharp sticks. We're the species that saw oceans and built boats to cross them. We looked at the sky and decided to fly to other stars." Captain Deho stood in the center of the alien bridge, surrounded by technology he barely understood, commanding a ship he had captured through pure stubbornness. Through the main screen, he could see other Vex Thani ships approaching in the distance. "Boram, can you send a message to Earth?" "Yes, Captain. What should I tell them?" Deho thought carefully. His message would be the first news Earth received about alien contact. It would shape how humanity prepared for what was coming. Tell them that we found aliens and the aliens found us. Tell them that first contact did not go well. Tell them that a Vex Thani Empire fleet is probably heading toward Earth right now, and they should prepare for war. "That's going to cause panic," Su Jin said quietly. "Good. Panic makes humans think fast and work together. Tell them also that we've captured one of their ships and learned that they can be beaten. Their technology is better than ours, but they're not smarter than us, and they're definitely not tougher than us." Boram began transmitting the message. Across the galaxy, the news spread in both directions. Human colonies would learn that they were not alone in the universe, and that their new neighbors were not friendly. Vexthani commanders would learn that they had awakened something they didn't understand. "Captain," Dr. Jiwan said, "the prisoners are asking to speak with you." "What do they want?" "They want to know why we didn't kill them." In their experience, successful rebels always execute the former rulers. Deho walked to the cargo bay where the Vexthani crew was being held. Commander Rathvex was awake now, though still weak from the gas. His large black eyes stared at the human captain with something that might have been respect. "You fought well for primitives," the alien commander admitted, "but you have doomed your species. The Empire will not allow this victory to go unpunished." "Maybe," Deho agreed. "But here's what you don't understand about humans, Commander. We've been fighting impossible odds for our entire history. Every time someone told us we couldn't do something, we figured out a way to do it anyway. You cannot defeat the entire Empire with one captured ship." "You're right, but we don't need to defeat your entire Empire. We just need to show other species that it can be done." Deho smiled. "How many worlds did you conquer because the natives believed you were unbeatable? What happens when they learn that a single human crew captured a Vexthani battlecruiser?" For the first time, Commander Rathvex looked genuinely afraid. The soul's pride was gone, destroyed in the collision that had saved its crew. But its 42 crew members were now in command of one of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. They had alien technology to study, alien prisoners to learn from, and alien star charts showing the location of every Vexthani stronghold. Most importantly, they had sent a message to Earth. Humanity was no longer alone, and their new neighbors had made the mistake of assuming that humans would be easy to conquer. As Captain Deho stood on the bridge of his captured ship, watching more Vexthani vessels approach, he thought about what his small crew had accomplished. They had been scanned, analyzed, and dismissed as harmless. They had been threatened, attacked, and nearly enslaved. The aliens had learned too late that there was a difference between being harmless and being human. Now the real war would begin, and the Vexthani Empire was about to discover that they had awakened the most dangerous species in the galaxy, one that simply didn't know when to quit.